I think that the Hizmet movement represents some of the very best instincts of Islam. Again, this sense of the common good, this sense that when we are believers, we are doers, that our faith is in action. That's the whole premise of Catholic education. I sympathize that it's so. Of the common good. Islam is a very big reality. There's no way that you can boil Islam down to My name is Dr. Fran Leap. I'm a professor of religious studies at Seton Hill University in Greensburg, Pennsylvania, about 35 miles east of Pittsburgh. I began to know people who were involved in the Hizmet movement some years ago. One of the classes that I teach at Seton Hill every semester is called Faith, Religion, and Society, and we study faith as a broad human experience. And then we look at the three Abrahamic faiths, at Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. And we look at the influence they have on society. So I wanted to take my students on a field visit to the Islamic Center. And while we were there, we met Dr. Shebnem Unlu, who was so gracious, a very gracious host. I did not know that she was a part of the Hizmet movement. It's only very recently that I knew the name of that this movement has. Before that, I just knew people. All I can tell you is about Hizmet is the people that are a part of it. And those people are some of the best human beings I know. I'm very impressed at how very hardworking. When someone puts their mind to accomplish something, it's going to happen. You know, this community is very supportive of one another. They remind me very much of the Catholic immigrant population. When people come into a new country, they take care of one another, and they're very anxious to establish their place in society, and then to make that society better. And I found the people who are a part of the Hizmet movement are very much a part of the growth of the making better of our country. So I've been really happy to be involved. You know, I've never, of course, met Mr. Gulen, and all I can say is that the fruit of his work in the people he has inspired is very good fruit. And if you want to say, by their fruits you shall know them, then I think Mr. Gulen has sown some very good seeds that has borne some good fruit. I think it's always difficult when you are an inspirational and charismatic leader. I think that can make you very controversial. But I think any controversy about the Hizmet movement is probably akin to the sort of thing that American Catholics experienced. You know, newcomers in a land will often be seen suspiciously, and it just takes time to establish yourself and for people to come to know you, and then you become a part of the landscape. And I'm sure that will happen as the years go by for the Hizmet movement in our country too. At least I hope it does. The most important contribution of the Hizmet movement seems to me to be a sense of the common good. You know, in Catholic social thought, the common good is an essential groundwork for us. We believe in the dignity of the human being, and we believe all human beings are created to be a part of community. And so when I entered into dialogue with Muslims, I was very curious, because I didn't know a lot about Islam when I started. I was very curious to understand how they would view the common good. And I was very, very pleased to find out that maslaha, or this sense of the common good, is as important, it seems to me, in Islam as it is in the Catholic tradition. And I see this sense of the common good made very real, made very embodied by the work of people who are in the Hizmet movement. There's a concern to bring the fruit, how can I say, the goods of the common to everyone. So there's concern for working at the food bank. There's concern for providing education. Probably education is one of the best gifts that the Hizmet movement has brought to America. But that sense of the common good, I think, is one of the biggest contributions. I think Islam is a very big reality. There's no way that you can boil Islam down to one particular representation. Much, again, like Catholicism, we're a worldwide movement. I think that the Hizmet movement represents some of the very best instincts of Islam. Again, this sense of the common good, this sense that when we are believers, we are doers, that our faith is in action. And I see that very much in Shebnem and in others of this movement. Turkish Cultural Center is what I'm most familiar with. So I would say they represent one of the best faces of Islam. From my perspective, from the experience I've had, it seems to me that the Hizmet movement, that the people I've been involved with, are real human beings with families, with businesses, with American lives that are also concerned to bring their benefits, their expertise, their good to the rest of the world, to the common good. So I see them very much like Americans, you know, those of us who are faith-filled believers of other traditions, who have families, who have jobs, who have businesses and want to do that kind of good where we are. I see them doing that as well. Interfaith dialogue to me is essential. My life's work is predicated on the importance of interreligious dialogue. So I was thrilled to find a conversation partner in Shebnem and in her husband and in the others that I've met. It's essential because believers can channel that energy, channel their faith together into making a difference in the world. There are all kinds of dialogues. There's a dialogue of study, there's a dialogue of prayer, there's a dialogue of action. We get involved together. People of various faiths can get involved together in making a difference in the world. That Muslims be involved in interfaith dialogue and social action in our country. I'm sure you've been aware that our country is a very big mix of understanding. There are some folks, if they've been to Seton Hill, there are some folks who understand Islam in a much more clear way. But there are so many of our citizens who don't have adequate knowledge about Islam. And so it's essential for Muslims to be welcoming of those who want to begin that dialogue, want to enter into that dialogue. It's essential to see Muslims involved in social action. It's essential that we not be separated into little conclaves or ghettos. We have to get out. We have to interact with one another. There are so many forces in the world that would separate us, that would take us down, that would put us on a path that will not lead to good. We need to be constantly turning our faces toward the good, constantly turning our faces toward one another with smiles and with hope and with prayer for good common action in the world. I see hope in the people that I interact with. There's never a sense of pettiness among the members of the cultural center that I've become involved with. I remember saying to a very good friend of mine who had also been involved in some of these activities, we were commenting that you never hear any gossip. So there's always a sense of the good in human beings and the hope that even if someone's not acting quite right, that will turn them toward the good, will turn them, hopefully, toward a better future. Yeah, that was one big impression that I had, was people don't gossip. They avert their eyes from the bad and they move on toward the good. I think it's very important that the Hizmet movement emphasizes education and emphasizes youth, primarily because that's the future, and we need to start shaping the future. When you begin to shape children, you have an effect on their parents. And it's their parents right now, this current generation, that if we touch their hearts, then we solidify what's going on with the children. And then the children move into that next generation, empowered to raise another generation. And education goes so far. When I teach this faith, religion, and society class, one of the first assignments is for them to talk about their life and talk about what has influenced them. And you hear very, very often about teachers, about grade school teachers, about high school teachers that have influenced them, that have helped to push them on the journey that they're on. So I know firsthand how important early education is, and of course college education. It's such a turning point in a person's life. We at Seton Hill have a saying that came to us from the founders of the Sisters of Charity, St. Elizabeth Ann Seton, who founded the first Catholic schools in our country. And she said, "I would fit you for the world in which you will live." She's meaning that I would prepare you exactly for the world that you will be entering. And we try to do that at Seton Hill, and I know that's what the Hizmet movement is about, preparing children, preparing youngsters, teenagers, to enter into a world that is a challenge, a world that must be approached with hope. And if we can bring the light of our faith and the hope that that brings to the children, then I know they will be equipped to face that world and then in turn to help to shape that world. Because that's ultimately what we want to do. We want to shape a world that reflects the love of God. Absolutely. I mean, that's the whole premise of Catholic education, and I sympathize with that, I think, in the Hizmet movement, that it's so important in education that we teach not only the skills of math and science and technology and computers, but that we also teach the skills of moral life. You cannot have skills without wisdom, and wisdom is what our faith is about. And I think we can have people of all backgrounds, all religious backgrounds, all faith backgrounds in our schools, because human beings, all human beings, approach the world with the need for faith, for ethics, and for hope. It's important for a Muslim social organization to do charitable works for all human beings, because that's part of the Muslim faith. You would be untrue to the faith if you only served Muslims, much as the Catholic faith understands itself. We would be untrue to ourselves if we only served our own. We are part of the huge human common good. And Muslims, Catholics, Christians of all sorts, Jews, any faith is untrue to itself unless it's out there serving everybody. And it's a very, very good example for everyone that we find common ground in our social action. So I welcome that.
I think the values that I saw in Hizmet a lot with is taking what in Islam, and such as devotion to God and loyalty to God, or Allah, looking at serving other people, and truly living a religion in practice.
It's difficult, I think, for people to understand, therefore, how you can have such a widespread movement now coming out of Turkey and working in many countries. They somehow think, well, there must be somebody directing this, somebody in charge. But if you look at the Hoca Efendi, you realize this is not a man who's directing, who's running anything. This is a man who's inspiring people.